In you come then. Hop. In you come. Good boy. Well, good evening. Welcome back to Glasgow Raiders Nation, guys. It is time for the Q&A fan forum. Your chance to control the agenda tonight. Like I said, on podcast, I usually have a big long page of notes next to me with things that I want to talk about, things that I want to discuss, things that I want to go through with you. But tonight is all about you. It's your show. As I always say, this channel is nothing without the people that watch it. It's nothing without the people that contribute it. It is nothing without anyone asking questions, making points, saying what they feel, and getting off their chests how they're feeling. Sometimes talking about a problem helps to solve. Well, it doesn't always help to solve the problem, but it helps to perhaps make you feel a little bit better about what is going on with that problem. Now, I'm not saying that I'm going to sit here like Dr. Phil and solve all your issues and solve all your problems. I can't do that. I'm not Martin Lewis. I can't solve all your financial issues. And I'm certainly not Dr. Raj, and I can't solve all your health issues, and I certainly won't be answering the questions about where babies come from. That's not for me to answer. If you don't know that yet, ask your mum and dad. But we've got some people already here in the live chat this evening. Good evening to Stuart. Good evening to Janet. Also, good evening to CJ and I. Good evening to you, buddy. How you doing? Hope you're all good. Look, it's pre-match day. It is match day eve. We are, the squad is out in Nice. Philippe Clement spoke to the media this afternoon. We'll obviously have a look at what he said in tomorrow morning's video. John Suter was also there to speak to the media ahead of the game on Thursday night. It's an interesting one, isn't it? It really fascinating. It is an interesting one. It's a game that, as I said on the video earlier, the preview video, guys, we did put out a preview video. It wasn't a live. It was a what's called a premiere. For those of you, obviously you understand that's premiere. Premiere is where you can watch, you can chat along in the live chat. It just means that I can't actually bring your comments up. I can't actually, talk about your comments because I'm not actually there. I'm somewhere else doing something else. And I think it was, in this case, running around after people as per usual. But look, that's what a premiere is, and that's what we're doing. So, look, welcome along, guys. If you've got thoughts, questions, comments that you want to put across, then this is your show. Bobby, how you doing, buddy? How's everything with you? Stephen, good to have you here. So yeah, if you've got thoughts, if you've got comments, if you've got questions you want to ask, tonight is your night. It is your chance to control the agenda here on the show. Now, just a quick sort of heads up as to what's coming up. We have got the obviously the live watch along tomorrow night. So we're going to do that for you. We're going to watch the Nice game with you. Hopefully it will be a good game. Hopefully Rangers can get the points from that game. And as I said on the video earlier, I'm actually quite hopeful tomorrow night of getting something, because Nice's form in Europe is not great. Rangers' form in Europe is quite good, and it seems that Europe is a place we do all right. We do all right in Europe. So look, I'm not as worried as I have been previously about European games, and to be honest with you, it's a little bit of a free hit. It's a little bit of pressure off for me. And I'll explain why it's pressure off for me. It's pressure off because, I'll be honest, nobody expects us to get a result. Nobody expects us to win. With the way we're playing domestically, I think everyone expects us to go there and lose, go there and get beat. There's not a lot of pressure on it. It's kind of a free hit in a way. I think we've already got pretty much enough points to get into at least the playoff phase of the Europa League. I wish it was the Champions League. Mental Freudian slip there. But yeah, I certainly hope that that. Look, tomorrow, that it's just that the boys go out there and play, and they play with a little bit less pressure. They play with just, a bit of a freedom there to go and actually play, just to go and actually have a go at them. And look, at the end of the day, we've got absolutely nothing to lose, really, tomorrow night. I don't think, out there in Nice, nothing at all to lose. Let's have a look at some points that have already come through. Evening to Michael. Let's see. I couldn't answer the poll. I think the deeper problem will still be at the club. Fair enough, CJ. That's absolutely fine. So, Hugster, how you doing, buddy? Janet says, do you think Hadji will leave in January now? I'm going to say no, Janet. He's not going to leave in January because I don't think there's many clubs that are going to come in for him. I think with the state, I think with the state of the squad as it is, I think with the fact we haven't got a lot of money to strengthen the squad, we haven't got a lot of money to spend. I think that now is perhaps the wrong time to sell Hadji. I think we'll hang on to him. I think he'll be a bit part player for the rest of the season, even though he should be having a major role in the team. But yeah, I do think that I think he'll be hanging around, Janet, but I think he'll be moving on in the summer. I do think that he will be gone in the summer, Janet, if I'm being honest with you. Not that I'm any sort of oracle on this, that's just my opinion. I'm confident, but not too confident for tomorrow. Fair enough. Stuart says, not playing at Ibrox at the start of the season, how much will that affect next season's budget? That's a great question, Stuart. I think it will affect it to some degree. I don't think it will massively affect it. The factors that will affect the budget next season, I think, will be how far we go in Europe, how much money we make in Europe, how much money we make from player sales, and if we qualify for the Champions League. So I think they'll be the three elements that will really, really, look at the budget for next year. I genuinely don't believe that it will massively affect the budget. I can't remember the exact figure, but I don't think the rent was overly high for Hampden. I'll see if I can find out what it was. But I don't think it was massive. I mean, obviously, the areas that you get hurt in. Here we go. What do we know? Here you go. This is from Rangers News. This was what they said, okay? So this was what Rangers News said about the situation, okay? They said that, I can find the comment I've just actually posted, is this one. What we do know is that the only cost Rangers £67,000 to rent Hampden Park rather than the millions that was feared. The real cost, though, hypothetically, was the 30 million that the Champions League would have guaranteed. So yeah, I think it didn't cost a great deal. 67,000, I don't think in the great scheme of things is going to massively affect the budget, guys, at all. We play well in Europe and play crap in the league. That's a fantastic point, DL2. We do, and even to some degree, Philippe Clement kind of acknowledged that today. That that domestically it's not good, and in the league it's a lot better. So yeah, I do think that to some degree, yeah, you're right. I mean, we are, well, not to any degree, not even to some degree, to a wholly degree, you are absolutely right. Probably win tomorrow, then get turned over. But Janet, that is what I've been saying all along. I've said that all along. I've said that it would be such a Rangersy thing to do, to go to Nice where no one gives us a chance, where you've got a team that potentially could do what Lyon did to us, that are worth over 200 million as opposed to our 80 million, and should 9 times out of 10 smash us, absolutely take us to the cleaners. But it would be such a Rangers thing to do, to go to Nice, win the game, look good, come back on Sunday and get beaten by St Johnstone. And then you'll hear the excuses of, oh, they're tired from the travelling, they're tired from this. Diddums. I mean, seriously, Diddums. Did you see PC in the presser when Suter was asked about the team playing better in you? I didn't. I haven't actually watched the press conference yet. I am going to watch it. I didn't get to watch it. So I am going to watch it, Bobby even. Yeah, I will. My dad said he doesn't think Clement too stubborn to change things. It's that he doesn't know how. He looks bewildered. It may very well be. I mean, I've heard a lot of people talk about the fact that Clement is not a good coach. That he isn't a good coach. That he is a weak coach. I mean, that's what I've heard from a number of sources. That that he's not the best of coaches. So that could well be the case. That could well be the case. But you'd hope that Stefan van der Heyden or that Anders Underlink or someone like that would have the know-how to be able to sort of institute that change in system somehow, or coach that system change, wouldn't you? A draw tomorrow and a win in the last home game should see us through at least to the playoff round. Spurs and Man United most likely beyond us, said Huckster. Yeah, I think you're right there on that one. I mean, if you look at what we've got left in this group stage, I mean, what we've got actually physically got left to do in this group stage. Obviously, it's Nice tomorrow. Is obviously the big one tomorrow. But you know, if you look at the games coming up after this, there are some tough. Let's have a quick look at these games left. We've then got Tottenham at home. Look, as much as Ibrox will play a role in that game, and Ibrox hopefully will be rocking that night, Tottenham for me just have far too much talent in their team. Mickey van der Ven. They've got Youngsin. What's it called? Son. They've got James Maddison. They've got Solanke. You know, they've got some very good footballers, Tottenham, and I expect Tottenham to turn us over in that game. And then we've got Man United away. Again, look, I think that is going to be a bridge too far. Why? Well, I think 3 months ago, it's not. I think 3 months ago, we've got an outside chance to actually win that game. But because, you know, Erik ten Hag is just absolutely dreadful. But it's Ruben Amorim. I think he'll turn it round. But then match day 8 of 8, it's Union Saint-Gilloise at home. That's a game we should be winning. So, yeah, I do agree. A draw tomorrow and a win should be enough to get us through there. You know, look, I think whenever you come up against English teams, you kind of write them off and say, realistically, you're probably 9 times out of 10, you're not going to win the game because English teams, they're just too strong. They're just too strong. They've got too much money and they're too strong. It is what it is, guys. It is what it is. Good evening, Scott. How you doing, buddy? Walter Smith would change this. Yeah, Walter Smith was famous for it. I mean, if you think about that run to the final, the run to the UEFA final, he went with that 4-5-1, didn't he? He played that 4-5-1 and it worked. It absolutely worked. So, look, I think at the end of the day, you know, Walter showed the way, didn't he? Walter really did show the way. It's a shame Philippe Clement can't follow in the footsteps of Walter Smith. Champions League football is ongoing as we talk tonight. Latest scores from the Champions League. Crvena Zvezda beat Stuttgart 5-1 earlier. Ongoing games now. Sturm Graz 1, Girona 0. Aston Villa 0, Juventus 0. Wow, that's a big game at Villa Park. Monaco 1, Benfica 0. PSV Eindhoven 0, Shakhtar Donetsk 1. Liverpool, Real Madrid, the big tie of the night is 0-0. Celtic 0, Club Brugge 0. Bologna 0, Lille 0. Zagreb 0, Dortmund 0 in the Champions League tonight. David, welcome, David. Even here, the presser was a nightmare. Can't listen to anymore. Stats. Excuses. After every game that we don't win, he talks the same old shit. I've got to say, David, I did put out on X earlier tonight. You could pretty much play the same press conference for every single game. You know, the same pre-match and the same post-match for every game. You just change the name of the team we're playing against and change the name of the players as you need to change it. You know, it's a lot of the same stuff. It's a lot of the same stuff regurgitated over and over and over again. So, you know, Clement, I think, you know, he's media trained. I think he is very much media trained. Right? He doesn't really give a lot away. He doesn't really sell out any players. He doesn't really call out any players. He doesn't really say a lot. He kind of toes the line. He kind of supports his players, and that's it. So, yeah, I do think that it is the same old, isn't it? I mean, you certainly don't get the Bealisms where Beale would just literally say something and you'd be like, what the fuck? What's he just said? Gio would say nothing. Gerrard would only give you so much. So, you know, you've got a whole different degree of things there. And obviously Graham Sinners would tell you where to go. Yeah, Graham Sinners would sit there and tell you to F off, wouldn't he? So there we go. Nice have 3 speedsters up front. I mean, that's something that we're going to have to really, really, really watch tomorrow night. You know, is that speed they've got up front with the likes of Cho and the guy who I was talking about in the video earlier, Guessond, him as well. So they have got some good players. They've got Klauser, who's a good player as well. So yeah, I've got some concerns over that one, certainly, mate. And yeah, we're going to have to watch the speedsters. And, you know, we're not massively quick. Now, that's why I would play Balogun, because even though he's 36, he is quick. Balogun's probably about our quickest central defender, which, considering the lad's 36, I mean, fair play to him. You know, and you know me, I'm a huge fan of Big Leon. I love Big Leon. That man is just immense. I love him to bits. And realistically, you look at that and you think, well, go on, Big Leon, Show us your pace. Show us what you've got. Agrees, Stuart. He doesn't have a clue how to fix things with his team. I don't think he does, Janet. David, I haven't listened to his pressers for months. Kiev defeat was a massive disappointment. They weren't even very good. Hugster, I think that's been absolutely proved with the way Kiev have performed in the Europa League. They've played 4, lost 4. They've been appalling. They've been appalling. And if you go back to Rangers v Dynamo Kiev in those games, it was such a disappointing performance. It was such a poor performance by us. And we can talk all we want about the whole situation around the referee sending off Yefte, how that changed the game, but by that same token, on that night of that 2-0 away, that 2-0 defeat at Hampden, we were absolutely shocking. We were so poor. Dessers was absolutely abject on that night. He really was. To be honest with you, I mean, we went to Kiev. Well, we didn't go to Kiev. We went to Poland. We got that 1-1 draw. And coming back with that 1-1 draw, you've got to feel good about your chances of getting through and beating them at home. But we kind of saved one of our worst performances for that game at home. And yes, the game was adversely affected to some degree by Yefte sending off. But by that same token, we should have had that game won by that point. It shouldn't have mattered. We let ourselves down very, very badly on that one. Jiggy says, evening Owen, I watch the pressers on mute as it's always the same old drivel. Interesting way to watch them. I think the players will perform as in a shot window to get away from Clermont. I mean, Scott, I think you've got a point there. I mean, I think a lot of people have said that they feel that the players see Europe as a shop window to sell themselves a little bit. I mean, if you look at Cheney's performances in the league, they're good. But if you look at his appearances in Europe, they're a hell of a lot better. So I think you are right. I think there is an element of that, certainly, Scott, that the players are looking at Europe as a way to sell themselves, as a way to push themselves. Because, I mean, with the best will in the world, apart from the Rangers-Celtic game, how many fans or how many teams outside of Scotland will watch Rangers St Johnstone, Rangers Dundee, Rangers Dundee United, Rangers Hibs, Rangers versus Kilmarnock? There's not going to be a great deal. So outside of the Old Firm games, there isn't a great deal of views for Rangers. So a lot of the players will look at it on the aspect that when they play in Europe, when they play against these teams like Nice, like Lyon, like Man United, like Tottenham, like Union Saint-Gilloise, it's a way to put themselves in the shop window. It's a way to show people, well, actually, you know what? Scotland's just something else. But actually, in Europe, I'm actually really good. So have a look at me. I think that's a good point there, Scott. A weak coach doesn't win away from home in the Bernabeu. Surely he has some kind of credentials. I think he actually drew it. No, he might have won. I think he won in Milan and drew in Madrid, mate. I'm sure he drew in Madrid and he won in Milan. I think that was, or it might have been the other way around. I can't remember. I don't know. I mean, I don't know. You don't know what influence the other coaches on his coaching staff had. I mean, you look at the situation where some of his assistants like Van Rumps didn't come with him to Rangers. Did that have an adverse effect? I'm not an expert on who his coaching staff were or who his players were when he was at Bruges or Genk. I know Denke was there, who's just gone to play in America, which is just crazy. But yeah, I agree. I'm curious to see his starting 11 tomorrow night. So am I, DL2. So am I. I mean, I really do fear for it. I think it'll be this. That's what I think his starting lineup will be tomorrow night. I think Tav will be back in the team, which is a massive, massive error. It just weakens that defence, and with Speedsters at the back, it's just a mistake. Suter and Proper, again, I'd play Balogun over Proper. Jefte, Baron, Raskin, Diamande. Diamande is in shocking form at the moment. Dessers is just drivel. He'll play, I think, up top because obviously that Danilo is injured. Well, not injured. Danilo is unavailable because he wasn't in the Euro squad because of injury. He now is fit. Lovelace is injured. So obviously he's out. Hamza can play there, but I don't think he'll start Hamza. So that's what I predict his song on that one, and he might surprise us. He might play Sterling at right back. He might make those changes. I can only guess, mate. I can only guess at that. Where are we going? Where are we going next? Let's have a quick look. I've lost some of your comments, guys. Here we go. The players never look like they've been rattled when coming out for a second half after a shocking first half. Yeah, I don't think he does give them the hairdryer, Grant. I don't think he's the sort of manager that gives them the hairdryer. I think that's so not him. I think he's probably quite calm with them, if I'm being honest with you. And sometimes, not all the time. I mean, I'll tell you a story. When I was coaching at youth level, I didn't use the hairdryer. I didn't shout. I didn't yell. I didn't scream. I didn't bawl out players. Right? That's not what I did. But one week we were in the quarterfinals of the cup. We were 3-0 down at half time. Lads came in at half time. I absolutely ripped into them. I went absolutely mental. I shouted. I bawled. I yelled. I lost the plot with them massively. And we won 7-3. We scored 7 unanswered goals in the second half. So I think, in terms of rattling players and getting in their faces and absolutely boarding them out, once in a while it's effective. If you're having to do it all the time, you've lost the dressing room. Stuart says some of these players have thrown the towel for previous managers. Is Clermont just a victim of the losing mentality at this club at the moment? Yes and no, Stuart. Yes, in as much as I think the players the players that have been here, like Tav, like Lawrence, to some extent, those players you could accuse of doing that. Whereas, Hamza, the new signings, Hamza, Diamande, Cortez, Bayrami, Tierney, Cass, those sorts of players, I think it's difficult to level it at them, because they've got no history of downing tools or throwing in the towel. So you may find that some of them have, Stuart, the likes of James Tavernier, the likes of Tom Lawrence, etc., etc. But, perhaps some of the others. Now, you've obviously got to worry what effect is the attitude of those senior pros. Now, if you look at the fact that Tom Lawrence, that James Tavernier, that Cyril Dessers, that Leon Balogun will be part of that leadership group. Now, Balogun, I don't think there's anything wrong with his attitude. He tries, and you can tell he cares still. Listen to his post-match interviews. He gives a bollocks about this, whereas the other ones don't seem to, in my estimation. So there could be an element of that, of them rubbing off on the other players, which is a worry. Bobby says, Suter had his head down. You could see him smiling when PC talked. Yeah, I think Suter's he knows he's got to keep his head down. He knows, he can't really say something. Agree with this sentiment, by the way. Exactly, Bobby. They walk about no care in the world, no giving us two fucks about the fans. Okay, litigation. Was told Spurs will bring it second team. I mean, they might very well do, Dado. At that stage, they might be through. But I'll tell you something, Spurs' second team is probably still better than our first team. Spurs' second team is probably still very, very strong. Really strong, in fact. Guys, 28 minutes. So let's bring this on the screen in a minute. So, they may very well bring a second team, mate, but I still think their second team will be somewhere a lot stronger than our first team, for definite. I think, you look at the strength in depth in the Premier League, and there is a real strength in depth in the Premier League. I mean, you look at, just looking for a minute at Spurs bench on Sunday versus Manchester City. I mean, they won 4-0 away at Man City, which is an incredible result. But, I mean, if you look at their bench on Sunday, their bench was Bergvall, who's a good footballer, Timo Werner, German international, Brennan Johnson, Canadian international, Jed Spence, don't know a great deal about him, Archie Gray, who was, I think, 14 million or something like that, 18 million, Fraser Foster, who is the former Celtic keeper, who is now the first choice because Vicario is injured, Will Lancashire is a young lad who's come through the academy, good footballer. And then you've got a couple of academy players in Malaki Hardy and Callum Latif Alessi. So, they've still got a very strong bench. And I think even their second team are going to be stronger than our first team, if I'm being honest with you, mate. Really, they will be. That's the latest score from Celtic Park. Celtic 0, Club Bruges 1 in the Champions League. Come on, Club Bruges. We've got to say we like that result at the moment. Still Villa 0, Juventus 0, Monaco now 1-0 upon Benfica. That's the only. Sturm Graz 1-0 upon Girona. That was a final score. That's Girona pretty much done for. But that's pretty much it at the moment in terms of goals. Still no goals in the Liverpool Madrid game, which is obviously, and still no goals in the Juventus Villa game, which I think are the two biggest games of the week. Where are we up to in our comments tonight? Let's try and get through some more of your comments. Had those comments. That one there, that one there. There we go. We are in an awful predicament. Clement is not producing the goods, but I believe we are still paying severance pay for Beale and Gio. We could very well be, Hugster. And, you know, there's stories right across the football world of teams continually paying out to managers in severance pay. I don't know whether you remember a manager called Peter Reid, who was manager of Sunderland, Coventry and Leeds. After he was sacked by Sunderland, he then went to Coventry, was sacked by Coventry, then went to Leeds and was sacked by Leeds. Now, at one point, Peter Reid was being paid by Sunderland, Coventry and Leeds. He was being paid several million by Sunderland, several million by Coventry and several million by Leeds. So he was getting 3 salaries for not even doing a job because he'd been sacked. So yeah, it happens, mate. It happens, and I wouldn't be surprised at all if we haven't paid them off in a lump sum that we are still paying them. No manager should throw a player under the bus in a presser, but he should show they're being dealt with by being dropped or on the bench next time out. Grant, good point. This is one of my bugbears with Philippe Clement, that he doesn't, you know, drop players who are badly out of form, and he keeps going back to those players. You've only got to look at the fact that James Tavernier was getting picked, you know, for the vast majority of games. Cyril Dessers continues to get picked, even though he's probably the worst striker in the squad. Tom Lawrence, when he was fit, was continually getting picked. Robin Propper gets picked. So yeah, I do think there's a number of players that could well be dropped to the bench and told, until you sort yourselves out, until your form gets better, you don't get back in this team. And that's one of my biggest bugbears, Grant, with Philippe Clement. It really is. The players, in my opinion, don't really respect the manager. He talks the talk, but he can't walk the walk. That's a decent point, mate. That's a decent point. I know. FC Nice will let us play football. They will. I think that's I think, you know, to be honest with you, mate, that's one of the things, that's one of the reasons why we do well in Europe, is because because I think we have more of an ability to play football. That we're not coming up against teams that just want to kick us, want to foul us, want to break the game up, want to spoil the game, want to just cause as many problems as possible. So I do believe that does help, mate. So yeah, I do think we do play well we do play better in Europe, because we're able to play football in Europe, whereas we're not able to play football in Scotland against some of the teams. So I do think that's a great point. I don't get why we're still paying Beale and Gio when they have other jobs. Surely the correct business sense is to put them on a gardening leave. So if they want new employment, then the pay stops. I mean, that's a great point, Grant. I mean, it may even be we've already paid them off and we were paid them off in a lump sum. I don't know. But that's a really good point, Grant. Why not do that? Sure, why we haven't done that. I mean, if we don't win tomorrow, we're not getting into the next round because we will get fucked by... Yeah, that's possible. I mean, like I said, I can't remember who said it earlier, but I think a draw tomorrow and a win against Saint-Gilloise will be enough to get us through. The problem is, Paul, you know, I think you've got a point, but I think the problem is nobody really kind of knows in this present league format, in the Europa League and in the Champions League, how many points are enough? What is enough points? I mean, when we were playing in the group stages, you know, when you're playing in a group stage of 4 teams and you played every team home and away, you kind of knew by this point what was going to be enough to get you through, didn't you? You kind of knew that 6 points, 7 points will be enough to get you through. You know, if you've got this number of points, then brilliant. You're probably going to, you know, you kind of knew what you needed. But I'd say by this point, we don't really know. We don't really know how this format's going to work out. We don't know how many points is going to be enough. So it's a different kettle of fish. I watch the French league every week. Excellent. I don't. I just hope he drops Tavernier. Stephen, I reckon he'll start. I reckon he will start. He will start. He will start him. I think he will. I think he'll start him tomorrow night. I really do think he'll start him tomorrow night. I can't see him dropping him. I think because he didn't play him at the weekend, he'll use that as an argument to start him because we're rotating. So yeah, I do think that he'll start him tomorrow night. I really, really do. Stuart, is the manager's job to change that mentality? If he can't, he shouldn't be there. Yeah, it is. He needs to inspire. He isn't doing that. And I'll be honest with you, if you listen to Clement talk, I couldn't get inspired by him. He's not the sort of person who inspires me. Kanji says, Clement's latest job is shocking, saying it's It's not a year he should be judged on, but the last 4 months. Okay, Dopey, so we'll discount when you were closer to Celtic and won the League Cup then, shall we? That's a good point. That's a really good point. No Rangers fans allowed into the stadium. I wanted to go. That's into the home end, mate. Clemon saying no problem with the players. Then he's the problem. He needs to go. Scott Olsen, remember him? Vaguely. Things are only impossible until they're not. JN's just woke up. It's 3:30 in the morning there. I mean, big up you, mate, for waking up at this time. Jesus. Rangers need to start putting contract clauses that you can get sacked for underperform. Yeah, I agree with you. On that one. That's a good point. I look at the Jers the way I look at life. It's like when you are driving. Sometimes you drive down a dead end, but you have to turn around and get back on the right route. Sometimes it works. Great attitude, Jiggy. If we beat Saint-Gilloise, that should be enough for a playoff. If we want top 8, we need to win tomorrow. That's a decent shout, mate, on that one. I think it probably will be enough. It probably will be enough to get us through if we win that game against Saint-Gilloise. Even if we were to lose these 3, I don't really know what is going to be enough points. I genuinely don't really know what is going to be enough points. You look at the moment at the Europa League standings, and you look around the bottom, where the teams at the bottom are at this moment in time, with 4 games still to go. I mean, let me try and bring it up on the screen for you so you can see us. So you can see it, shall we? Let's do a share screen for you. Let's do a quick share screen for you. Here we go. Europa League standings. Let's just enlarge that a little bit. Okay, so here's the Europa League standings. Scott, must take your comment down for a minute. Let's just enjoy that again. Okay, so at the moment, you kind of look at where they are in terms of qualifying. Here we go. So qualifying starts in 24. So Sociedad have got 4 points. So if they win their last 4 games, theoretically they can get 16 points. Okay, so at the moment we've got 7 points. I would say 10 points. It'll probably be enough to get you through, because I genuinely can't see these teams down the bottom winning every single game between now and the end of this round, the 4 that they've got left. If you look at their form to this point in the Europa League, I mean, if you look at those teams that are down the bottom, there's an awful lot of red X's there. There's only Sociedad, Braga, Malmo and Karabag who've got wins. Everyone else has got either losses or draws. I think there's an awful lot of damage there. There'd have to be, for Rangers not to at least get into the playoff round now, there'd have to be a huge uplift in form here. And Rangers would, I think, theoretically have to end up getting at most only 1 more point from these final 4 games, I think, to miss out. So I don't really think that's possible. I don't think that's going to happen. I think we should have just about enough to get us through. Any incoming manager should be put on a 1-year rolling contract. That way we don't have to pay out millions every other year. Grant, I've got to say, I fundamentally agree with that massively, what you've said there. If you look at a lot of the top English clubs, give their managers 1-year rolling contracts. Pep Guardiola is on a 1-year rolling contract. So if he does get sacked, if they lose to Liverpool at the weekend, it's not going to cost them a lot. The only issue you've got there is that some managers won't agree to that rolling 1-year contract. So, that's the only issue. So does that, to some degree, limit your, does that limit your ability to recruit managers? Because certain managers won't want to work under those auspices, won't want to work under that deal. So that's the only worry for me. And yeah, there are top English clubs that do have those rolling 1-year contracts. And for me, for manager, it's perfect. It's perfect because it's not going to cost you a fortune if you've got to sack them. B, you can retain an option there. I think it's a good deal, a good idea. Owen didn't turn up for work, then I wouldn't, absolutely not, 100%. If I wasn't turn up for work and didn't do anything, or was shit at my job, I'd get the sack. Would love to know how much we make in Europa when you take away player bonuses. Going by this board's past performances, we probably make a loss. I will try my very best to find out, but bonuses are very hard to find out about. Very hard. Mon the Bruges, yeah, absolutely. I think Guardiola signed a 2-year contract. So there we go. I don't know. I know he signed a new contract, but I don't look into it. I don't like Man. I'll be honest with you, Hugster. I don't like Man City. I don't like Man United. I don't like either of the Manchester clubs. So I don't really pay a lot of attention to them. Q Kanji, to me, the manager not willing to sign a rolling contract isn't worth paying in the first place, as obviously he's not confident in his abilities. That's a good shout. That is a great way to look at it. I didn't actually thought of that. That is a great way to look at it, mate. I think that's a really, really good way to look at that. Definitely. What else have we got here? Let's have a quick look. Yeah, 2 year to avoid speculation next season. There we go. That's why. I suppose with 115 charges, isn't it? That's hanging over them. Any more goals in these games tonight? So far, still Monaco 1-0. Shakhtar Donetsk are now 2-0 up on PSV Eindhoven. Still Liverpool 0, Madrid 0. Still Juve 0, Villa 0. Celtic still losing to Club Brugge 1-0. Janet says, Pepe wishful thinking would be great though, lol. Yeah, Pepe, yeah. The player Pepe, I mean, he'd have been a good signing, wouldn't he? But yeah, I don't think that's viable. The wages, I think he's retired, isn't he now? Possibly. I don't know. He's a good footballer, though. He was a good footballer. Very, very good football. Look, tomorrow night is massive. It is a huge game. We've got to get something out of it. We really do need to. Do I have a favourite English team? I've got a couple of favourite English teams, mate. Liverpool, because my daughters both support Liverpool. Sunderland, because my mum is a big Sunderland fan. They're the two teams I look out for in England, because my daughters and my mum. Okay, that's so. Yeah, I mean, Rangers are my first love. That's my big love. If Rangers play Liverpool, I'd want Rangers to win. If Rangers play Sunderland, I'd want Rangers to win. So yeah, I like I said, I do have a big soft spot for Liverpool, because both my kids are Liverpool fans, and that's because of my ex-wife. My ex-wife's a massive Liverpool fan, and my mum is a Sunderland fan because mum was born in Sunderland. There we go. We just need a change. Might as well have a whole Ollie at the fucking wheel. Mate, I would not want Ole Gunnar Solskjaer as our manager. I seriously, under no circumstances, would ever want Ole Gunnar Solskjaer as our manager. That would just be an absolute disaster waiting to happen. Ollie's at the wheel and the wheels have come off, I think would be the song that we sing on that one. For definite, guys. For definite. Definite. Always, mate. Always. Look around the room. Anyway, thank you for guys. That is it for tonight. I've got a shorter one tonight because I need to go and pick my daughter up. Yeah, absolutely. Guys, thank you for watching. Thank you for coming along. Thank you for asking your questions. Thank you for putting your points across. We'll be back tomorrow night with the watch along, guys. So please come and join us for that live watch along of Rangers versus Nice in the south of France. So please come and join us for that. Thanks for coming along. Thanks for joining us. Just a shorter pod tonight. Like I said, I've got my daughter to pick up from. She's gone to the cinema for the second night in a row with her mates. Last night, guys, she went with a boy. I told her to tell the lad that I've got a long garden and a spade. Yeah, absolutely. Jesus. The stresses of having teenage daughters, guys. The stresses of having teenage daughters, 14 and 16. Absolute fucking nightmare. Right, thank you for watching, guys. As always, on the way out, if you can smash the like. If you can subscribe, do all that good stuff, comment, share, all that great stuff. But remember, most importantly, one Rangers family, and we are the people.